Idea here is to free up as much time as possible, focus on acquisitions, build your team, implement systems, and take massive action.
Welcome, my friend, to the best real estate investing advice ever show. I'm Joe Fairless, and before we get into the show in today's episode, which I know you'll get a lot of value from because we stay out of all the fluffy stuff and we get straight into the good stuff of real estate investing advice, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, and that's Patch of Land. They are making this show possible, and they're making tons of flipping projects possible all across the country. If you don't know about Patch of Land, then they are the number one company to go to for projects that you're flipping because they have all the money available right now. Once you get approved for your deal and yourself as a sponsor or a borrower, you're going to be funded by them, and then they go raise the money through their crowdfunding platform. So you don't have to worry about all that. They'll take care of the money and the funding for you. You just have to worry about making sure your project's a success. They've got something really cool for you. So if you are just learning about crowdfunding, they've come up with a guide. It's called the Top 10 Crowdfunding Questions Guide. And they're all the questions that you might be asking yourself. And they're all the answers. They don't leave you hanging. They got answers too. All the answers to those 10 crowdfunding questions. So you can go to patchofland.com/best ever and get that guide. And if you think you know everything about crowdfunding, I'd check this guide out just in case, because there are some interesting aspects that you'll learn. So go to patchofland.com/best ever and get that guide. Hi, Best Ever listeners. Welcome to the Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show. I'm Joe Fairless, and we've got an action-packed episode for you today. We're going to talk all about quite a journey that our guest has had and the quick success he's also gotten from a whole lot of action that he's taken, and some bold moves too. With this show, as I'm sure you know, but if you don't, let me quickly tell you, we get to the heart of the investing advice that the best ever guests have. And we also, talk through different scenarios that they've overcome to help you whenever you're doing your real estate investing, help you overcome similar scenarios. We've talked to Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad, Barbara Corcoran, Shark Tank, and many others. So with us today, we've got Ross Alex. How you doing, Ross?
Hey, what's happening, Joe?
Great to have you on the show. And Ross is based in Houston, Texas. I was telling him earlier, I was just in Houston a couple weeks ago, as I'm sure the best ever listeners know, or excuse me, a couple months ago, seems like weeks, to close on a Houston apartment community. And Ross is 25 years old, and I'm going by his bio, so I'm describing him how he was describing himself in the bio. He's 25 years old, and he made a life-changing decision to drop out of college, quit a bartending job, and move to Houston and get involved in flipping houses. He was broke, didn't have any experience, any education, no team, but he did have a desire to be successful. Fast forward only 1.5 years later, and he runs 2 multiple six-figure businesses and flips 3 to 5 houses each month. So lots to talk about with Ross, and really excited to hear his journey. So with that being said, Ross, you want to give the best ever listeners a little bit more about your background and what you're doing now?
Yes, absolutely. First off, I'd like to say, Joe, thank you so much for having me on the show here. This is awesome.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the journey's pretty crazy, actually. I never thought that it would actually happen this fast. I want to go back maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and there was actually a moment in my life where I was sitting in college, and I remember it was a history class, and I was actually not paying attention at the moment because I was just so, distraught and upset at my situation. I was working 13, 14-hour bartending shifts. I knew that I had to go into work that night, and I was just really looking at the big picture on where I was going in life and where my friends were going. And, I knew I've always wanted to be massively successful. I wanted to live financially free. And I realized at my breaking point that what I was doing just wasn't going to work for me, right? I wasn't interested in spending 6 years in college only to get out and not know what the next move was going to be. So sitting in that class that day, I reached out to one of my idols, which is actually my uncle, who is a commercial real estate investor here in Houston. And I reached out to him through text, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm here. I'm sitting in class right now. I'm freaking out. This isn't working. All my friends are, graduating with master's degrees, and I'm already, 5 years behind. What do I do? And, he told me, he said, hey, Ross, I want to let you know one thing. The Mona Lisa is not going to make you $1 million. And he said, it's great, but it's just not going to get you what you want out of life. So what I want you to do is come out to Vegas with me this week, and we're going to go to this life-changing seminar. And I'm thinking, wow, this is awesome. Vegas, yes, let's do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, wait, I have work. How am I going to get there, right? I can't call out of work. For those of you who've been in the restaurant industry, it's really difficult to get out of working shifts. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to live the high life. I'm going to party it up. I'm going to, take massive action. And I remember I just hopped on a flight, but I didn't have money to pay for it. So he actually paid for the flight for me. And I flew out there, and it was everything other than what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be living a high life here. I'm actually staying off the strip in this place called the Alexis Park Motel. And I went to this 3-day conference called, it was actually by Marshall Silver. And he's a stage hypnotist. He teaches people how to become millionaires. And this absolutely just changed my life. It was everything that I needed. I learned how to take massive action. I learned what it takes to make money and become a millionaire. So I remember I flew back to New York, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to Houston. I don't care what I have to do. I'll do it. I'll do anything. I'm making it happen. So I packed one bag. I kissed my girlfriend goodbye. I kissed my mom goodbye. I flew to Houston, and here I am again in Houston, and I still don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know anything about real estate. What am I going to do? How am I going to get the millions, right? What do I do here? And I remember I just started aligning myself with the right people. I started going to the networking events. I started reading the books. I found a mentor, which was my uncle, and it's just been game over ever since.
Okay, wow. Whole lot of follow-up questions for you. First, very tactical, and you're going to be like, out of all the questions asked me, why the hell are you asking me this one question? But I'm just curious. Were you in the middle of a semester?
Yes.
And you just flat left and you got what, incompletes for all those classes and what part of the semester were you in?
Yes, I was halfway through the semester. It was probably about, what was it? It was February of 2014. So actually it was about a month and a half into the semester.
So you kissed your girlfriend and your mom goodbye. What'd your girlfriend say?
She was actually really, really supporting. She moved down to Houston with me, a couple of months after that. But she was just like, hey, look, I know this is what you want. And what you're doing right now is just not working. You're not happy. You're miserable. So just go do it. Wow.
All right. So you packed one bag, flew to Houston, didn't know anyone. You've got your uncle, thank goodness, as a mentor. How else specifically did you build your friendship network?
Right. Absolutely. So the first thing that I knew that I needed was a team. And I knew that to acquire that team, I would have to do some networking. So I started Googling networking events in Houston for real estate, for business, for entrepreneurs. And I was literally attending networking events 5 nights a week. And I started just going out there and meeting people. I told people who I am and what I was looking to do. And actually, I was acting as if I had already done it, but I hadn't yet. So people were more interested in talking to me, like, hey, this guy's going to go take over the world flipping houses. Because I was literally going to the events and I was saying, hey, look, I'm going to go flip 100 houses this year and I need to build this team. Right. So people were getting really excited.
So you went to networking events. What were some of the networking events? Were they all real estate focused?
Not all of them. We do have probably about 3 RIAs here in Houston that I was attending. And then I was going to some entrepreneur meetups and just business meetups as well. Primarily real estate, but not all real estate.
When you attend a RIA, let me be a little mini Joe on your shoulder as you're walking in the doors of the RIA.
Sure.
What will I see you do as soon as you walk in the doors?
Well, when I was going to the RIAs, I have metrics, so I know who I need to talk to, who I'm looking for. So I have a bunch of business cards. I walk in there and I start networking as much as possible. So I go up to people and I say, "Hi, how are you? My name's Ross." They tell me their name. I say, "What do you do?" And I hear about them and what they do. And based off what they tell me, I go ahead and tell them what I do and what I'm looking for. I get their business card as fast as possible, and then I move on to the next person.
Okay. Which is interesting because I take the exact opposite approach whenever I go to meetings. That's why I was curious to hear your approach, and clearly it's effective for you.
Yes.
My approach is I want to get to know one person very well, and that's really it. And of course, I'll talk to other people, but I'm more focused on connecting with one person in a kind of a longer term conversation. So you take a more shorter approach with the conversations, and your approach is to get to as many people as possible. And you said there's metrics. What are the metrics that you give yourself?
Yes. So, for example, if I know that I need to find some private lenders, I may say, okay, I need to talk to 3 people that are potentially private lenders. I also want to add 5 new people to my buyers list. So I need to talk to 5 wholesalers or 5 rehabbers. Right. And I also need to find, let's say, a general contractor. So I want to go up to some rehabbers once I identify that they are a rehabber, and then ask them who they're using for their rehabs and build that connection.
Got it. Okay. And so basically people who are buying at properties, people who lend you the money, and people who help fix them.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And as far as the other entrepreneurship or business meetups that you attend, what were your goals there?
Primarily at those events, I was looking for business, like-minded individuals that are involved in, businesses and entrepreneurs, primarily looking to raise capital for deals, for rehabs.
Okay. How did that work out for you?
It actually worked out really well. I remember I was at this one event, and it was in Midtown Houston. We were at this bar, and everybody's talking about their tech startups, and I saw this one gentleman that was just by himself. So I go up to him, I start talking to him, and he was actually there for his son who was working on a tech startup for a mobile app. So I tell him, "Hey, look, I'm in real estate. This is what I do." Turns out that he had been in real estate a few years back, and he was looking to get started again, and he had about $100,000 to get started. So it worked out really well. You never know who you're going to meet at these networking events.
Did he end up helping fund deals?
He actually didn't. I didn't pursue it specifically for this gentleman. Just at the time we had a couple of projects going on already. But yeah, I passed it off to one of my students.
And why wouldn't you pursue that if you've got someone who's got $100,000 and regardless of if you're flipping 3 to 5 houses a month, why wouldn't that be beneficial for you?
Right. Awesome question, Joe. So we are flipping about 3 to 5 houses right now. At the time, we weren't. During this, when I met this gentleman, we were doing about 1 to 2 houses every 90 days. And we just didn't have the deal flow coming in yet where I can take his $100,000 and just put it into a deal. And I had already built up some relationships with some other private lenders who are just lending out like slot machines. So it was kind of like, hey, where am I going to put this guy?
And what are the terms of the private lenders who are lending out the money?
The terms, I shoot for 2 and 12. So we'll do 2 points up front, 12% annual. It's not always like that, of course. Private money's not cheap. The way I like to look at it, Joe, is if I'm making money on the back end, I'll pay the price that it costs for the money.
So you built your team, and then once you had your team, how'd you get going in a market that you were new in?
Right. So awesome question. Well, one of the people that I had on my team was actually a broker. And I wasn't really doing the off-market stuff as much. I was looking to do the on-market foreclosures and rehab those. So I had a broker that was an expert in his area sending me deals. And that was actually the first deal. It was in LaPorte, Texas. I bought it for $65,000. We put $17,000 into it and sold it for $105,000.
And how much time did that take?
It took 90 days.
Okay. And what was a couple things that you learned from that first project?
Awesome question. The first, one of the most important things, that was the first flip I did, was that I needed to be present, and I really didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing. It kind of seemed surreal that I actually just bought a property using none of my own cash, and now I'm technically the owner on it, so I need to be there as much as possible, and I learned that after the fact. And also, when you're buying real estate, it's really important to take into account that you're going to be having to drive there. This property was about an hour and 20 minutes away from my house. So I started to ask myself, hey, do I really want to do a 3-hour round trip every single day to drive out to these properties? So I started being a little more strategic on where I was buying. So that was really, really powerful for me.
When you got the first place done and successfully sold, then, well, first off, how'd you find your buyer on that first property?
Sure. The property was a rehab. It was a retail rehab. So we found the buyer off MLS. My broker handled that.
Once you got that sold, then what'd you do with the money?
We paid off our lender. We took the money. Here I am with a couple $1,000s, and I'm thinking I'm a freaking rock star. I'm a millionaire already. I have like $10,000 in my pocket because I had a partner as well. I was ready to go do the next one. We were already on to the next one. We were like, hey, we got to go find another property. Let's buy it. We got to do this 10 more times.
And at what point did you go from flipping a house every 90 days to doing 3 to 5 a month? What would you attribute that to?
Well, we really started doing a lot of off-market stuff, using postcards, doing a lot of direct mail campaigns, and just throwing up bandit signs in the area. So once the off-market stuff started coming in, I still had a bunch of brokers that were giving me pocket listings. I mean, to this day, they come in every single day. So we needed to go find more money so we can have more buying power. We kind of expanded our crew a little bit so we can handle more projects at one time. And it kind of just happened. The team has gotten bigger, and the systems are more in place than ever.
Ross, what's your best real estate investing advice ever?
To implement systems into your business. Systems. A lot of people like to get started in this business, and they want to do, they want to save a couple $1,000s here. They want to save a couple $100s here by doing things on their own. The idea here is to free up as much time as possible, focus on acquisitions, build your team, implement systems, and take massive action.
What systems or what components of your system would you say have been most effective in your business?
Absolutely. Number one, PatLive.com, 24-hour virtual receptionist service that answers all my motivated sellers when they call into the business. So that allows me to not spend time on the phone. The second one is clicktomail.com. They handle all the direct mail, literally thousands and thousands of postcards where I don't have to write envelopes anymore and lick postage stamps anymore. It's a done-for-you system. And then also I use a local company here called Real Acquisitions, and they have a database of millions and millions of addresses here. So we automatically just pull our list with one click and then get those out.
How'd you end up going with PatLive.com, clicktomail.com, and Real Acquisitions whenever you have other options?
Sure. Well, I was actually at a Robin Thompson workshop, and she was preaching about Pat Live, and I didn't know that something like this even existed. So I kind of just jumped on board that same day, and I've been using it ever since. And so that's Pat Live. It's not cheap, but it's very well worth it. I know there's some other services out there that are great as well. So the idea is just to have a phone answering service at the end of the day. Clicktomail.com. I remember me and my girlfriend were sitting at the dinner table a couple nights a week, literally handwriting envelopes with addresses, and I was driving to the post office, and it was just taking so much time, hours and hours and hours. So I said to myself, I'm like, look, there has to be a better way because this is not scalable. we're doing a couple hundred now and it works, but what happens when we're going to do 5,000, 10,000 direct mail pieces? There has to be a company out there that can do this for us. And that's when I started to sift through a couple of them, local companies and some yellowletter.com. And then I found clicktomail.com, and it was so easy, so simple. And they went the direct mail pieces went out in like 2 or 3 days, and I've been using it ever since.
You ready for the best ever lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right, first a quick word from our best ever partners. Crowdfunding. You've heard about it. Now it's time for you to learn about it. Our best ever sponsor today, Patch of Land, they're the leading expert in the crowdfunding space, and they've got all the answers to all of your crowdfunding questions. Go to patchofland.com/best ever and get your copy of the top 10 answers to the top 10 crowdfunding questions. That's patchofland.com/best ever. What would you say is the best ever book that you've read?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
We talked about an amazing personal growth experience. What's the best ever personal growth experience, and what'd you learn from it?
Going to the 3-day conference by Marshall Silver, The Turning Point, teaching me money-making principles, how to be effective, how to be proactive, how to produce.
What is a principle or something that you learned from that seminar that you're applying now?
Making money is not difficult, it's different.
Ah, interesting. Well, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, a lot of people think that it takes, years and years and years and years and doing all these things and having these degrees and just so much stuff to make money, when in actuality, you just got to do things that other people aren't actually willing to do, right? It takes sacrifice. It takes certain characteristics to become successful and make lots of money. Not going out on the weekends, reading instead of watching TV. All these things come together to achieve a desired result, which, essentially leads to making more money.
With the not going out on the weekends and reading instead of watching TV, do you still have your girlfriend?
Yes.
How does that work if in a relationship, whenever you're like, I can't go out on the weekends, I got to work, and I know you want to watch this movie, but I'm actually going to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Well, I have such a supporting girlfriend. So, if I'm in the room and I'm doing a training, or if I'm reading a book, she's probably watching the Kardashians or, something in the other room. So that works okay. As far as going out, we try to find the medium here, where we can go out, we can enjoy ourselves. But when it's time to work, it's time to work. So I would say it works out really well. And often if I have to go to properties, she tags along with me. She loves it. It's exciting for her as well. What's the best ever deal you've done? Best ever deal I have done is going to be my third deal. It was in Friendswood, Texas on Sage Willow Drive. We completely turned this house around. We bought it for a rock star price, way under asking price. And what's the rock star price? We bought it for actually, what was it, $78,000? $78,000. We put about $30,000 into it and sold it for a little over $170,000. Took about 90 days, and it was the first ever property that I flipped that I seen a complete transformation. Do you sell your properties through a real estate agent every time? Yes. My mantra is, if you bring me a deal, you can sell the deal for me. Nice and clean and simple. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to build relationships here, and loyalty is really important in business. So if I have brokers that are working on their end to bring me pocket listings before anybody else sees them, I truly believe that they deserve to sell it for me as well and earn that commission on the back end. What's the best ever way you like to give back? Best ever way I like to give back is teaching students. I actually have a educational program where I bring people on. I take them on property tours and I teach them the exact principles and the exact strategies that I used to get to where I am today. And I like to do that for people. And what would you say is the biggest mistake you've made in real estate? Joe, this is a tough one here. This is a tough one. The biggest mistake I've made in real estate was trying to make an extra couple $1,000s. We held off on accepting a couple offers on one of our rehabs because we felt that we can get more. And turns out that when the appraisal came back, it was a little lower than what we wanted. We lost out on a couple of buyers. The property sat for, I think, 3 to 4 months extra. I almost went underwater on that deal. We walked away with very little money from the closing table. And I think that was my biggest mistake.
When you have an opportunity to sell, and if you're close enough, then pull the trigger and move on to the next one.
Absolutely. Volume.
What's the best ever place to reach you?
Best ever place to reach me is on Facebook or email. You can find me at Facebook, Ross Alex, and my email is ross@flippinginaction.com. I check those daily, so yeah, it's the best place to reach out to me. Joe, I've been Periscoping a lot also. You guys can be on Periscope. Yeah, Ross Alex.
Okay. Well, you can see what it's like to live a day in Ross's shoes.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe if you're at home, then if your girl's watching TV, then you can also follow along and watch the Kardashians as well.
Joe, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ross, for being on the show, talking about your experience and your bold move from living in upstate New York as someone who is from the city, New York City would say, to moving to Houston on a whim almost. I mean, you went to Vegas and you got the inspiration, but it was already kind of bubbling. It sounds like whenever you're sitting in that class, working 14-hour bartending shifts and going to school. And the things that you learned at the event, where, as you said, making money is not difficult, it's different. So you have to do things other people are not willing to do, not going out on the weekends, reading and not watching TV. I totally can empathize with that. People call me crazy for doing a daily podcast. Well, the podcast benefits me in about 12 different ways. So it's not a luxury for me. It's a must, because I'm meeting so many people. One of the main ways is I'm meeting so many people like you, and I'm learning your story and how you got to where you're at. And I'm just studying it, and I'm able to kind of apply certain things that you do. In particular, one of them is when you started out in the new market, you attended 5 events a week on average. And that's incredible. I thought I was doing a good job by simply creating an event, a meetup in Cincinnati when I moved here about 3 months ago. But I really need to start attending more meetups, and from not only real estate, but then business and entrepreneurship stuff. So, just tidbits like this certainly are going to be helpful for the best ever listeners and myself. So I sincerely appreciate that. And then thanks for talking about how you scaled your company by implementing the systems and, sharing the 3 resources that you use: patlive.com to answer all motivated sellers, Click to Mail to handle your direct mail, and then your local group, Real Acquisitions, for the database stuff. So thanks for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Best ever listeners, do you remember episode 195? It's titled How to Become a $1 Billion Developer. Quite an impressive title. Well, imagine the man behind that title, Mark Macia. He's a friend of mine. I met him in New York. I met him through this show, and then we just really hit it off in New York whenever I was living there. He has a company, Macia Development. You can check it out at MASCIADEV.com. And it's not for everyone, but if you're interested in investments in retail and medical office, so only retail and medical office that provide stable cash flow, then you need to talk to him. Talk to Mark. You can email him directly at invest@MASCIADEV.com. That's invest@MaciaDev.com. He's a great guy, really accomplished, and if you're into investing in retail and medical office, stable cash flowing properties, then you need to talk to him. I'm not making any commissions off of this. I believe in what he does, and I believe in him, and highly recommend you talk to him if that's what you're looking for.